My name is Jack. I'm 21 years old, and I have one story to be telling all of you. It's not a creepy or scary story, not that any of those means. It's a little bit weird, but I will make a brief backstory that would eventually leading up all of this. It all happened in the summer of 2022 when I was just 20 years old. At the time, I was in a long-term relationship with a girl by the name Nina. Me and Nina actually met when we both were 17 years old at the high school. We actually were so deeply in love. And in fact, I could even imagine myself one day settling down with her, start getting married, start a family with her. We even talked about this when we were just after we finished high school. And even though this is not relevant, but neither of us actually went to college or university. But I was actually over of the moon when I was spent time with Nina. But just shortly after my 20th birthday of the summer of 2022, my best friend Robert, he has been seeing Nina in town with another guy. At first, he thought that was another friend of hers, but as he was seeing how much she was flirtatious, she was flirting with this guy, kissing him, holding hands, and what was he actually could hear from her talking to this guy? How much she loves him. And when this guy mentioned about her boyfriend, she says something like, he was just a nobody, a loser. I'm also only going to break up with it anyways, since he has no attention to make me feel happy. He hasn't even made me feel happy since I was about for a whole year. So it turned out, when Robert told me this, and he even had it recorded, I was livid. I was actually even in a mind to go and to propose to her, and even though I hadn't even got the ring yet. But I was really mad at her. I took my phone and I called her right on the spot after Robert told me and showed me the video. At first, she acted like normal, like, "Hey, sweetie, I just about to call you." But I was beyond happy about hearing this. I was like, "Nina, we are done." She was a little bit confused at first, trying to act she had no idea what she. And I was like, "Don't deny it. I know you have been seeing this other guy for a whole year behind my back. And for all top of all this, how dare you? I was even in the mind of being going to propose to you." But that made her stop, realize in her mind, or at least stop for a few seconds and said, "Wait, you were?" But I told her yes, even though I hadn't even got the ring yet, I was thinking of doing it by the end of the summer. But now I was never going to do this since she had been cheating on me for a whole year. If it was just for a week or even just one time event, I would have definitely had forgiven her. But after what she has been doing for a whole year, and not only by calling me loser, a nobody, that hurt my feelings. So I told her, just simply lose my number and never even try to reach out to me. I will never want to see or even hear you ever again. I was really happy when I was with you, but having this is like being stabbed in the back with a big kitchen knife. With a big kitchen knife, I said. I could somehow hearing her to start crying, trying to beg for her not to be doing this. But I told her, well, what you did is unforgivable. So after I said, "Nina, you give me a favor, lose my number, and don't call me ever again." After that, I hung up the phone, blocked her number, and I even blocked her on all social media. And I just basically stopped from any communication with her at all. Robert was really proud that I was actually doing this. He was like, "Man, we're happy to be with her, but now this? I cannot even imagine what you're going through. Please, Trust me, Robert, this is not a good feeling. And after that, I left his apartment and went home. And I actually, at the time, still lived with my parents, but only for a short time until I actually managed to find my own apartment shortly afterwards. They were really devastated because they could see me so happy to be with Nina. And in fact, she came to really get along well with my family, with my parents and my sister. But after they found out, I only suggest that they should probably not even talk to her because she will probably try to make some excuses or maybe try to make me talk to her. And in fact, my parents, they blocked her number and on social media. My sister, on the other hand, was still talk with her for only some time because she wanted to just get more information to figure out why she did it in the first place. Well, after she found out, she blocked her and basically had never talked to her ever since. She later told me the reason why, because I was not giving her enough attention and I was not even having enough money in order to provide her for the stuff that she wanted. Even though I wouldn't say that she wasn't the type of girl that wanted to have the most expensive clothes, books, or uh, purses, jewelry, anything like that. She was not that type of girl itself, but she did have some quantity taste that she wanted to go out eating almost every time or go to the movies as much. And I only had a low paying job and still do, but she was really the most undisturbing in the end. And I had even I never thought more about it. But only about a couple of weeks after my breakup with Nina, Robert suggested I should try some new dating. But I was like, I was just only in a relationship but only a few weeks ago, and you really expect me going back in dating scenes? He was like not an actual official dating, more as a casual dating, just to be seeing what things could actually be doing. I thought, why not? But he suggested that I should try maybe online dating. Online dating, I thought, isn't that like a bad thing to do? I told him I heard a lot of stories about people being scammed or catfished or just simply, or those weren't even real people, like could have been guys pretend to be as a girl. He laughed and said, that's true, that happens a lot. But he's just give me the try at least, he told me. So I went home, I made an account on one particular dating site, which I won't give you much the name of. So, and for the first few days, I didn't find any potential matches or anything. But it was only one girl that actually got attention. She was only about a year older than me. Well, she was actually they're around the same age as me, and her name was Serena. At the photo that she was blonde, blue-eyed, real well, she was a beautiful girl. And we started talking, and turned out she was a local. And even our town isn't that small or even that big. At the time, I would believe there was around maybe as 18,000 people. So it was a quite decent size and a large population. So, but even so, I actually never thought about even about this. I didn't actually fall in love with her right away. We were actually just having a very decent conversation. And even if I mentioned this to Robert, even showed a photo of her, he was, dude, you are hit the gold mine on this one. I was like, we are actually even romantic with each other. He was surprised that we weren't that. I mean, that's like, I really want to get to know her first. You know, the basic of her hobbies and something like that. But then he asked if I heard her voice yet. Because, like I told him before, some girls could have been guys being in disguise. That actually hit me. I only been talking to Serena for only a couple of days and never actually thought about even want to to have a voice call or FaceTime with her. But I did ask her the same evening when I get home, and she actually agreed to do a voice call since she had an old desktop which nobody didn't had any camera on it. And to be honest, I didn't have myself either at the time. So we just, and I can later confirm it was a girl. Even at the time, after being talking to her for about maybe a couple of weeks, about 2 weeks, I suggest that we should probably hang out in public for the first time since we have been talking and since she's local. She said, yeah, I would like that. And so we set the time and the day and date when we're supposed to hang out. And I had her number, but the time just before she's about to leave, she texted me and said that she couldn't. She had some had to do things at home, and I was like, we can always to put the date to how to take it tomorrow after I was done with work. She said that she would like that. But despite how many times it did happen, she always brushed it off or told me that she had something else or that she wasn't feeling well. After about almost another week of doing this, I started to realize maybe that I was getting catfished. And Robert actually had asked me how was my first meeting with her been so far. I told him the truth that I hadn't even seen her in person yet. I mean, he knows that she is a local, and I can confirm that she was actually a girl. And then he asked if we could do something like maybe go see where she lives. She didn't actually tell me exactly which part of the town she lived in, but that same evening I did actually ask her just by any reference of where exactly in town she lives. And well, she didn't give me exact location, but only for the very vicinity. So I decided I wanted to go there and to try to figure out to find her, or at least to find if someone actually knows her, and not to be seen as a stalker or as a creep. Just I want to figure out if she was actually who she claimed to be, because even now I start to have some doubts if she was even that girl on the photo. Even though I know that she is a girl, but what if she wasn't the same person? So I had a photo of my phone, and I went with Robert to that part of town, and we walked around in some small convenience stores, in the small parts, other businesses, and even asked around on the streets if they had seen her. But no one actually had even seen. And but we were in a one neighborhood of this apartment complex. I was actually walking around and I noticed this older woman. I believe she was in her 50s. I walked up to her and asked if she had seen this girl before because she told me that she's supposed to be living in some part of this town, but she said sadly no. But I asked her if she knows any girl in this maybe this complex by the name Serena, around 20 years old. That she told me that she did. There were actually a girl that lived with her parents, a single child, which matched with description of what Serena told me, and she told me that Serena wasn't blonde hair and blue eyed. She was actually brunette and brown eyes. That surprised me, was even though this is very surprising how she was actually told me a slight different appearance. I asked her if she knew exactly which apartment she lived in. The woman was a little bit hesitating to do this because, first of all, I was a complete stranger and I had a friend of mine with me, but I told her that we had been talking on this dating site. And the woman actually was somehow familiar with about it. So even though that she locked in wanted it first wanted to tell me, which I completely understand, because two strange young men asking for to know about this girl, who knows, maybe that we were maybe was going to attack her or something. But I told her I not only want to meet her. So she told me the number of the apartment and the part of which door we had to go into. So we thanked her and went to this apartment building, and she lived on the third floor. So we went up there, knocked on the door, and there was a man around my dad's age, around his early 50s. He asked me what we were doing here, and I was a little bit hesitating because he was a little bit, even though he was in his 50s, but he looked to be almost like a bodybuilder type person. But I took the courage enough and asked if Serena is home. He was. He looked at me and asked how I know his daughter. I told her the truth. Told him the truth that I had been talking to Serena and my name was Jack. Now his eyes got big and it's like, wait, Jack, he thought, have you really been talking to my daughter this whole time? It turned out that Serena actually had been telling her parents about me. That we have been talking for a couple of weeks and um maybe you two should come in here. So we went in and Serena was actually home. She was in her room. She had no idea. She then they her dad was like, Serena, here's some visitors. And then she walked out casually and then she stopped it almost like if she had her heart attack. Wait, hey Serena. She was almost about to cry and back, oh no, you young lady, you're come on here. And I actually told her dad that we actually have been planned to meet up many times, but she always backed out for different reasons. And I even told him that she told me that she described how she looked like and even showed the photo. And somehow that made her even more nervous and about to start crying even more. She was probably expecting me yelling at her how she lied about how she looked like. But I told her father that I wasn't really matched. I was the only one to, even though her father was a little bit mad at her, like lying about someone's appearance online, and especially when the guy who actually wanted to just meeting you. And then he somehow forced her to be standing there talking to me and Robert. Even though Robert didn't say much, he just said hi to her, and I told Serena. Now that I know that she did lie to me about her appearance. She was apologizing about that, and I told her it doesn't matter. She looked surprised at me at first there and asked what I meant. Even though she lied about her appearance, my friendship with her hasn't even been affected. I understand if she was a little bit felt comforted if she had low esteem about her appearance, that she didn't like to be as that, but I had to admit, even despite her brown hair, brown eyes, she was skinny, she was a very beautiful girl. She was almost like if she was in the photo that she told me, except her brown eyes and brown hair. And I actually told her that she's absolutely stunning, despite that being brown hair and brown eyes. She actually started smiling and said, and once again said, apologized for her. She felt sorry at how she had been lying to me. And I asked her if she was willing to spend time with me and Robert. And I mean, of course, outside the apartment building, such that we can get to know each other more in person. And she actually was a little bit hesitating first, but her father stood behind her and said, give him a chance. And that's what you have to be doing after being lying to him. So she did. We went outside to the small playground that was pretty much outside the complex. We seen her on the swings and start talking, and I can at first see that she was a bit nervous around me and Robert. But Robert, he actually left me and Serena for ourselves. But, well, he didn't leave me entirely, but he just walked off for a little bit distance so that we can have more private time. More private conversations. And in fact, I started telling Serena that I actually didn't like her as a friend anymore. She was not about to cry, but I said, I would like to even to want to ask you out, if you are willing to want that. She looked at me with big eyes and like shocked. Well, let's say that she said yes, and we decided to go out to the movies the next day. And of course, it was very awkward the first time. But nevertheless, we actually had a very great time. Ever since the first date, we started to spend more time, and I admit, after like the third date, I asked her if she wanted to be my girlfriend. Even though she probably would say no or something like she isn't ready yet, but she said yes. Because ever since then, me and Serena actually have been an official couple. Even though at the times I still missed Nina, but after started seeing time, spend time with Serena, I completely forgot about Nina. Even though that happened shortly when me and Serena actually made it official, Nina's tried to reach out to me and ask for forgiveness. But I told her I am not one to willing to talk to her ever again since I have a girlfriend already. She brushed me off and it's like, oh, I can always replace her with some new, she said with a big smile when I met her in person. But I told Nina, no. What about the guy you cheated with me on? Turned out she only used him for his money because it turned out he was quite wealthy otherwise. But I told her, please leave me alone. I don't want to be even to be with you ever again since how you treated me for over the whole year. Well, let's say that Nina wasn't happy about it, but she was gone. Despite that, I only did see her for a few more times, and even though that Nina tried to convince me to go back with her, but I stood firmly with my words and my foot to the ground and said, Nina, it's not happening. And that was basically the last time I even saw or heard from her. Well, except for Robert, turned around just shortly after the summer was over, around late August actually. Robert heard that Nina moved out of town with her family to some other place. Well, the reason is that her father was hired for a company to a new town, which, I mean, I'm not mad at her or anything. Just, I'm happy that she potentially could find someone else. But what about me and Serena? Well, I can say that we are still together to this day. Even though that Serena actually introduced one of her friends to Robert. And I can say it actually they did all hit it off. It happened that me, Serena, Robert, and his girlfriend actually went on double dates. Even though it's something I actually had planned for me and Serena, as a slip and hint, despite that she catfished me, I am forgave her about it. And I'm actually proud and happy that I did. And in fact, even though we'd only been together this around summer 2023, when we had been together for about a year, I'm planning to propose to her. And I know for sure she will say yes. So I'm happy that I was catfished, but found my true love.